pal. Alright, let's watch me live. Oh, watch me live. Oh, watch me nene. What we do? Alright, gotta do some work here first. Gotta do some work while we're here. Bankster DFS. Are we live? Are we live, pal? We're live, pal. Alright. No, you go away. Go back. No, that's not my business. That's no one's business but mine. Okay. We started. No, good. Fabulous. Okay, let's let people know we're live, pal. And let's go to the Twits. Let's go to YouTube on the phone. Turn the volume down. We got the chat box up. No, let's go to Twitter. Let's do live. Alright, good there, good there, good there. YouTube. Play, go live. There we go. Hopefully people will show up. It is Bankster DFS Heat Map Live. Where we take a look every single day at the slate ahead of us. Today we're looking at the main slate. Bankster DFS members will get looks at the smaller slates as well. I'll be loading that up after this, but this comes first. We should have 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom. Alright, 16. Just loading up the data. 2020 to 2022. And we're going to start looking at, we're going to do the heat map, and we're going to get right to the heat map. If you're not a member of banksterdfs.com, come check us out. $3.99 a week. Link up there. You get everything. You get all of our content. Pro sports, college sports, niche sports. The best thing in the world is this thing right here. It's our Slack chat. I'm going to load that up for a second. While everything else is loading up here. Let that load up. We're going to pull the data that we want so we get that heat map going. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, click that notification icon. But come to Bankster DFS. Like be a member. $4. Like, what are you doing with $4? Can't buy a pack of sports cards for $4. Can't get a coffee at Starbucks for $4 anymore. $4 a week gets you access to all of our content. College sports, pro sports, niche sports, all of our heat maps, player pools, articles. Don't really have as many articles as we used to. We're definitely more data driven, heat map driven. Let's take a look at what you get on our Slack chat. First and foremost, most important part of the Slack chat, right there. It's all of our information, all of our stuff, everything. This is all of our heat maps, articles, write-ups. Ooh, I do a daily ramble video where I ramble about the slate. I did that a couple hours before lock. Talked about Chris Paddock and GPP's cash hit really hard yesterday, which is great. We're going to delete that video now, though. It takes up too much bandwidth. So, bloop, goodbye, data. All right, we'll handle that. We'll do another one today. We do talk about best ball. Congratulations to Sean Goodwin getting into Scott Fish Bowl this year. I'm still waiting on the invite, but I don't worry. I'm 4 years running. I'll either get in or I won't. If I don't, 4 years is a heck of a run for something that's not guaranteed. So excited for Sean here. We do talk about betting. Steven Trotch posts his plays And then SJP puts his plays up as well. He's a member, and he's fantastic. He has his own betting site. Check him out on Twitter. And check out his betting site. We do talk about sports cards. We do have college sports. Let's see what's going on in the baseball page as of right now. Hopefully no one's pissing and moaning. Hey, there it is. We're talking about the birthday narratives, right? We had the home runs from Joey Wendell and Aaron Judge yesterday on their birthdays. Today it's Corey Seager. Happy birthday, Corey Seager. We do have an MMA page where Tay Wagner posts his thoughts on the fights, his punch list. Christine comes in as well to help out. We do have a movies page where you can talk about movies. I don't want to click in case there's spoilers. Steven and Jeff cover the NASCAR. NBA's still kicking. We're still there. We're still there with NBA playoffs. Not posting daily pools, but we are posting ideas here. NFL covers both NFL, best ball, USFL. Lots of USFL stuff. Troy and Brandon hold that down. Troy with the articles, Brandon with some news updates. Hockey, Troy and Sean are still killing it with hockey. Still getting there. Still trying to make that money. We do cover niche sports. We got EuroLeague, basketball, among other things in here. F1, cover F1 in here. Brandon covers that. Brandon and Troy do a lot. PGA, we got an article coming a little bit later on today when I post it. I'll do it probably right after this from Brian Crozier. Usually Chris A gives us an article as well, but he, as you can see up here, broke his hand. Yikes, so typing's a problem for him, so we're going to hold off a little bit on articles there, but he'll be in the chat letting you know how he feels. We do have soccer with the 2019 FSWA award winner, Jeff Kaminsky, giving us soccer updates. Brandon likes to give us some tennis stuff. We do have a page. We haven't done much tennis in a while. We do have a tilt page where you can go in and piss and moan about whatever you want without any, complaints. And then we do have, we do talk wrestling in here a little bit. And the MLB Live is pretty cool. You can do weather live lineups. You get updates right here. Throws in some tweets about the home runs. So that all is part of your membership. All part of the $4 a week. Not bad. Cover it all. Get everything. And we've been on fire. We've just been hitting like crazy this year. All right. Let's get to the heat map. Let's look at where we're at right now with the pitching model. I ran the data. And the data likes Pablo Lopez today, no surprise, against a weak Washington team. And he's the most expensive pitcher on the slate. Probably going to run him in cash, but we'll see. We'll see what the heat map has to say. But we like Pablo Lopez, Jordan Montgomery. Pretty inexpensive, if I'm not mistaken, too. Yeah, Montgomery down at $7,500 against the Baltimore team that can occasionally hit righties or lefties, but I think I like Montgomery in this spot here. 12 points against Baltimore earlier this year, which is only a couple points off of where he needs to be. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Please make sure, like, share, subscribe. Drop comments. I'll chit-chat with you guys, too. Otherwise, it's just me rambling. So we like Montgomery according to the pitching model. Charlie Morton, also pretty inexpensive. Really good matchup. Hasn't pitched great this year, but he's definitely consideration. And then Joe Ryan, man. Loved me some Joe Ryan. Got him in my season-long league. Has had a real nice start to his year. Strong game coming against Detroit. So those are the top pitchers according to the pitching model. And the pitching model, like I said, has been pretty hot. Got Chris Paddock yesterday. Got all the pitching for the most part yesterday. Pitching was solid. The yellows, about what we think. Jacob Junis could be a sneaky play. Brandon in the chat. What's up, Brandon? French Open coming in May. Apparently there's going to be some tennis content coming for that. Brandon crushes tennis, so love it. Glenn Otto had a nice start last time out. Not sure we love him against Houston today, though, but possibly. Houston's missing some bats. And then these are the pitchers we're probably going to attack. A little surprised about Christian Javier. I'm going to look deeper into that one a little bit. What's he priced at, Javier? Cheap. Might be a cheap GPP option even down at that. And Pineda as well. A little bit of a revenge game coming for Pineda. Looked great in his first start against the Yankees, which was also a revenge game. Only 2 strikeouts, but didn't really give up anything. So we'll see there. All right, let's pull some data and get this heat map going. I've already got the BVP loaded. We have a couple of guys to look at. Boston's got some BVP. Juan Soto could be, if you're going to use some leverage against Pablo Lopez. Carlos Correa against Pineda. All right, let's pull this data here. Let's see where the hotness is coming from. Let's see what the heat map tells us today. And basically with the heat map, what we're looking at here is we are looking at pitchers. We're looking at platoon splits. Which pitchers struggle against lefties and righties and which batters excel against lefties and righties. And we're going to try to find a matchup. We want a pitcher that struggles against a certain type of bat and a bat that excels against that certain type of pitcher. And that's what we're looking for. The heat map is more for hitters, though we can use it a little bit for pitchers depending upon if we read it correctly. And the pitching model is more for the pitchers. Sometimes they disagree. And then that's where you have to start to really take a look and interpret how we feel. And that's what we do here at Bankster. And we'll give you our player pool. Members from Bankster DFS get this heat map special one, which has the player pool as well. Gives you the players we like for cash specifically. And all the players that we're one-offing and other guys that we're looking at. That's for members only. It gets updated regularly. All right, so let's take a look here. Green means we don't want to touch the pitcher. Yellow on a bigger slate. We'll see who the pitcher is and who they're facing. Red, we attack. So right off the bat, we want to use lefties against Pineda. Now, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of lefties. Max Kepler is going to look good here. Maybe Larnach, but we're not going to see a lot of guys that are going to pop here, this is where we can use it for pitchers. He struggles against lefties. If Minnesota doesn't have a lot of lefties, Pineda could still be in play. We see that Charlie Morton doesn't really struggle too much against anyone, not a surprise. Same with Joe Ryan. Glenn Otto against lefties, that could be a problem with Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker and Michael Brantley. For Houston, that could be a problem. Tyler Wells, I'm going to take a look here at Wells going up against Yankees right-handed bats. On a bigger slate, this might not stand out as much to me, but it's the Yankees at home, righties, which is their lineup is mostly made of, outside of Rizzo and Gallo. And Wells is he's not going to pitch a lot of innings, but then just get into the Baltimore bullpen, which is great. I'm not going to look at Plesac here too much against the Angels. Obviously, Trout's always in play and Rendon's in play, but for the most part, we're not going to load up on Angels. Ohtani's an interesting one because people might want to use Ohtani, so I'm actually going to look at Cleveland left-handed bats today and see if anything stands out. I don't think too much is going to stand out, but we're going to take a peek here because he does struggle a little bit against lefties. Christian Javier, I'm going to do the same thing for Texas. A lot of lefties today that we're looking at. Interesting. Eric Fetty is not good against either, so we are going to look at Miami. But it's weird because Fetty has good history against Miami and didn't really show up as he's a yellow, not someone we're going to overly attack, so that's interesting. Pablo Lopez looks great. Jordan Montgomery, we like Montgomery, and he's not awful. He's right on that border. I'm probably not going to touch him because it's a large enough slate, and we've got a lot of red here. We don't really need to get to Baltimore. Will they be a leverage stack? Absolutely. Are they a team that Johnny's going to talk to you about in Slack? Johnny's really more, Johnny Longshot is more of our GPP guy, where I'm really more focused on cash. For the most part, I throw GPP plays out there. Is Johnny going to talk about Baltimore? I can almost guarantee it. But they're not going to show up heat map style right now. But they'll show up eventually. Mark Leiter's terrible in a limited number of outings, but we're still going to look at Atlanta here. Blackburn is taking on San Francisco. That's going to be a struggle for him. And Jacob Junis, we're going to take a look at the lefties for Oakland, but I don't think we're going to see much. Oakland just is not a great offense, and so I'm not too concerned here. And then Stripling against the right-handed batters of Boston. Interestingly enough, who's pitching for Boston today? There's Waka. Okay, I missed Waka. I just skipped right over Waka. Okay, Waka, we're going to look at everyone against Waka, but more so the right-handed bats. Let's look at the righties for Toronto, understanding that if a lefty's in a good spot like Zach Collins, if he's hitting cleanup again, I'm probably going to be really interested in Zach Collins, even though he didn't work out yesterday. But I bet, does price go down? It didn't. It went up. That's crazy. If Collins starts, he's an interesting play as a lefty, but we really don't have a lot of lefties to look at. So we're just going to look at the righties since that's where the data tells us to look anyway. All right, let's start pulling up teams. Yankees against the righty. So we're going to look at bats. This takes a second to load up what we want to do. I was running late this morning, so I didn't prep any of this. We're going to look at So just takes a second here. Yankees. So we're really going to look at Yankees righty bats against righty pitching over the last 3 years. Now we know 2020 was a weird year, and it wasn't a full year. Neither is this year. So it's really heavily weighted towards last year's data, which is kind of good because that's where they are right now. But if we throw some 2020 in there, we look at some historical data, and if we look at 2022, we've got some current data. And it's been working out really well for us. So we're not going to mess around too much. We want more than 20 at-bats because that's enough of a sample size for me. And, you know, everyone has a different level of acceptability in terms of sample size. To me, I believe in small sample sizes because a small sample size is just the first step to a large sample size. Every large sample size started as a small sample size. All right, Yankees active roster, 20 plate appearances against righties, last 3 years, advanced data. Who do we like? Judge, Stanton, LeMahieu, Donaldson, Rizzo, Gallo. Except it's not all right. It's right versus right. See, I knew I missed one thing. Righty versus righty, which is Rizzo and Gallo are in play today, of course. But since we're looking at just the Heat area of it, like where do the matchup, where does the matchup go well? Where do they correlate? It's correlating with the righties. It does not mean we avoid the lefties. It just means these are the guys where the heat lies. Judge, Stanton, LeMahieu, Donaldson. Not a surprise. Done. Easy. Lock it in. 2 guys we like in particular. Top 2 there. Pop extra hard. Stanton and Judge. Also not a surprise. Love me some Judge today. Boston versus right-handed pitching. Boston righties versus right-handed pitching. Today should be a fun slate because we have so many left-handed bats that we can attack, which we don't normally. Normally, this left-handed bats is not this large, and so people tend to avoid them, particularly the lower-end guys like the I don't know. There's going to be guys who hit righties well as a lefty. You just don't see too much come up. And so I think we might unearth some interesting plays today. Boston, Bogarts and J.D. Martinez. See, and this is where throwing this year's data in there actually helps a lot too, even though it's small, because I believe it pulled down Trevor Story a little bit. I think Story was a guy who, when he was playing in Colorado, is someone who actually probably would have looked better, and now he's not looking as good. And I think that's where, and he struggled this year, so that actually works for us. Bobby Dahlbeck is a power guy, a power option. So I look for guys that have good power numbers, even if they're not as consistent. And I like to throw them in there. They often end up, they're good GPP plays. They're very good GPP plays. They've hit a lot of bombs this year, players on that list. A lot of catchers end up on our power upside list. And that's good because they usually can be cheap and we don't often spend up a catcher. Sometimes we do, right? Will Smith against a righty, we'll spend up. Sal Perez against the lefty, we'll spend up. JT Realmuto, if he's leading off, will spend up. But for the most part, we try to save the catcher. And if we can find a power hitting catcher cheap, we'll do it, right? Even if, especially if it's where you wouldn't think, like Dahlbeck against, now Dahlbeck's not a catcher, but let's say he was. Dahlbeck, a righty versus a righty, you wouldn't think to use if he was a catcher, someone that profiles that way. That's a guy that we can then get in there at a cheap price. And that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously, if you have like Zunino and he's cheap and he's going against a lefty, well, we know Zunino pounds lefties, but he also hits righties poorly, but for a lot of power. So Zunino's a guy who you look at against a righty pitcher if you needed a cheap one-off. Toronto, shocker, Vlad, Springer, Gurriel, and Bichette. And what's the top 2 guys that pop? Top 2 guys that pop. Now, the thing that's interesting here is Gurriel has been hitting cleanup when he's been playing for Toronto, and he's been cheap, which has made him a really good cash option. He's injured right now, day to day. If he plays, $3,300 if he's hitting cleanup is pretty amazing. Though I have a feeling Collins is going to be in cleanup today, again, which means Collins is in play. Anyone else pop here? Yeah, Matt Chapman pops as a power option. Chapman hit a bomb the other day as a power option. All right, Minnesota, left-hand bats versus righty. I don't think we're going to see a lot to like here, which puts Pineda back in play. I think. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how much I know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's 20 guys. I think it's going to be Kepler and not much else. No, I'm a little bit wrong. Look at that. There's 4 guys. None of them have a ton of power, though. I'm still not running, and none of them super pop. So I'm not running. Like, are we scared of Luis Arias? Kepler's worrisome. He did have a good game yesterday. Polanco and Larnach. And there's another thing where we look and we're like, oh no, Minnesota, Detroit could be in trouble. A lot of lefties. But, like, again, look at the names. Look at what they've done this year. Look at the isolated power. It's pretty much Kepler. Maybe a little bit Polanco. And then the rest of the lineup's just like, bleh. I mean, Buxton's good, but, like, against lefties, as a lefty was already. I'm not afraid of Pineda today in a GPP. What's Pineda priced at? Yeah, at 6,800. I'm not afraid to use him in a tournament. I'm not using him in cash, but I'm not afraid to use him in a tournament. Houston taking on a righty. This should be a couple of guys, a few guys, the big names, the names you think, the 3 names you think, and Castro. All right, it's Brantley, Tucker, Jordan. See, this is interesting too. I can't type and talk at the same time. You would think Jordan would be the guy to go after, and he might be for power upside. He does have the highest isolated power, but Brantley's got the better overall numbers, higher weighted on base, similar slugging, higher OPS, way higher on base. If I'm playing cash, way lower strikeout rate. If I'm playing cash, it's Brantley. Bet you he's cheap today too. 3,700 bucks. I mean, we can lock Brantley into that lineup pretty easily. I mean, we're going to stack in GPPs. We're going to stack all 3, especially if they move Tucker up in the lineup. But Brantley is the cash play there. Like, it's Brantley at 37 or Jordan at 55. You're saving 1,800 bucks. I mean, maybe Tucker, but if Brantley's hitting 2 and Tucker's hitting 6, rather get the extra at bats. And I think you just have more opportunity with Brantley in cash. GPPs, I'm going to take the power upside of Tucker. I'll take all 3 of them in GPPs. Cleveland, I just don't see a lot of guys here that are going to make Ohtani pay. I just don't think Cleveland has a ton of guys. But again, I could be wrong. Quan, very little data to go off of, but he's been outstanding. And Jose Ramirez. I mean, that's it. And Ohtani's really good against righties. Ohtani's definitely in play today. Ohtani is definitely in play. Now, you want to stack against Ohtani? Well, these are the guys to look at, right? So this is where we can look at a guy like, where the leverage comes in. We look at, Quan Ramirez as guys that we can use against Ohtani. How expensive are they? I mean, Quan, if he plays, and Ramirez, I mean, he's always expensive as hell. 5,700 bucks. I mean, that's fine. No one's going to use him, which makes him usable in tournaments. All right, let's go with Texas. I think we should see a decent number of guys here for Texas. Seager, Calhoun, Lowe, Miller. No, Willie Calhoun ain't doing anything for me. All right, Seager, Miller, Lowe, Calhoun. Corey Seager's birthday. We talked about that. Is it Calhoun then Lowe? Nope. All right, so the Heat Map is scared of Javier a little bit, right, against lefties. The rankings say Javier could struggle. I think he could be a decently popular pitcher. Very cheap. Texas now looks like a good GPP option simply for, I mean, look at Miller at 35. Cole Calhoun at 3K. I won't put him in cash, but he's very usable. Seager, definitely in play there. Daniel Lowe, 3,500 bucks. Yep. Like me some Texas today. Seager, super pops. Everyone else is just kind of there. And Lowe is actually above Miller. hate when it doesn't rank them the way I want them to. There we go. Okay. And Oakland. Again, I don't think we're going to see a lot here to like for Oakland. Nope. Tony Kemp and Seth Brown, and we don't love them. Jacob Junis could be sneaky today. Sneaky GPP option. What's he priced at? Cheap, right? 6K. He's pitched, what, once this year? And he was good. 4 strikeouts, 5 innings. I can't use him in cash. I can't use him in cash. Though he could, if he gets 5 innings, holy cow, he could be amazing. Geez, he might be a cash option. Oakland's just bad. All right, Miami against Fetty. Interesting stuff here. I love this stuff. Like, I geek out over all this stuff. I just find all this data fascinating, what it tells you. And it's telling me a lot of interesting stuff. And that's why we've been killing it. I mean, we've just been absolutely killing cash, and tournaments have been good. Like, we've been popping. Let's see. Sanchez, Anderson, Cooper, Wendell. Mr. Wendell, yeah. De La Cruz, Chisholm, Birdie. A lot of Marlins do decent things against righties. None of them pop hard, but a lot of them are interesting. Interesting what we got going on here. Miami's in play for sure. Atlanta should be a really popular stack today against Leiter. I wonder if Atlanta's still priced down like they're a minor league team. Atlanta's been priced very cheap lately. Let's see. Darno's back up over 3K. Olson's at 5K. All right. Albies is at 5K. They're finally priced like a major league team. Riley, really good price at 4,100. So we'll see. Riley hits righties really well. Swanson hasn't come up yet, but hasn't done much. But he's still, that's a good price at 2,700. Ozuna 35 is too cheap. Yep. Look at those guys at the bottom of the lineup. Interesting. So it's really just Albies and Olsen who are priced up, which means you can afford Atlanta pretty easily. There it is. Austin Riley against righties. You would think it'd be Olsen would be the best. Oh, there it is. They freaking did it. He is better. By 2 points WRC plus. Very close. Both of them pop. Olsen, Riley, Ozuna. I just don't think people are going to... they don't see Riley for what he is. He's awesome, by the way. Darno, Duval, Dickerson. Swanson and Albies. See, to me, this is really wild, too, that Albies is all the way down there. Look at all these guys who hit righties better than Albies. Like, I'd still take Albies, obviously, in the stack. I want them in there, but I'm not one-offing Albies. I'll one-off Riley. I'll one-off Ozuna. I consider Ozuna in cash. I consider Riley in cash. I consider Olsen in cash. I wouldn't use Albies in cash today, though, and that's what the heat map can tell us. That's what the heat map tells us. Albies is just a better hitter righty. See, just want to take a real quick look here. Versus lefty. There you go. Albies, significantly better as a right-handed batter. People don't see that. They don't know that. San Francisco taking on Blackburn, so they're taking on a righty. All right, Blackburn's a righty. That would mess things up. No lefties on the slate. All right, no lefties today. Other than Montgomery. Sammy Long doesn't count because he's only going to pitch anything. San Francisco versus righties. We should see a decent number of players here. Belt, Crawford, Gonzalez, Flores. made a mistake yesterday and didn't use Flores in my giant stack. And of course, he has a homer and a double. I think I used Ruff instead. I was rushing. And I didn't bother to check my data. And of course, in not checking my data, what did I do? I took the guy who hits worse. Less power, less on base. There's no reason to play more strikeouts by a lot. There's no reason to play Darren Ruffle for more Flores. And that's what I did. That's why we got to check. That's why we got to check everything. Let's take a look here at this. I'm interested in the San Francisco prices, especially on like Luis Gonzalez. Peterson's still cheap. Gonzalez still cheap. I assume Belt and Crawford are pricey. That's fine. Flores under 4K. Not bad. Okay. So now we've got our heat map ready to roll, which I love. That's the guys that stand out. And now we're just going to build, we're going to figure out who our stacks are, who our cash plays are, and we got to color code this. Well, not color code it, we're going to color it in. Colors mean nothing on just the stacks. They are literally just the color of the uniform the team plays in. Just a quick way to see who's out there. I know, super creative, right? Everything else for me is color coded though. Texas I vacillate between red and blue. Today they're going to be blue. This Texas uniform has both. Miami gets a weird blue. Atlanta gets a nice darker blue. And San Francisco, of course. I don't like to keep similar colors near each other, so we are going to... Yep, I'm weird like that. I don't like to put them on the same area if I can avoid it. There we go. Don't want orange with orange. And that's what makes our place so hot. Color coding. Make sure everything looks good here. All right, there we go. Now let's look at cash pitchers. Cash pitchers, we said for cash we like Ryan, Morton, Lopez. I don't need all those. It's Lopez, Montgomery, Junis. Yikes. That's funny. Ryan's just too expensive. That may change. And for Bankster members, once we see actual lineups, this can definitely change based on who's actually in the lineup, because pitcher rankings are based on who I project the starting lineup to be. And if I projected it wrong and the lineup is different, and I change the data to the correct players, and we see that, oh my goodness, this pitcher's in a better position, a worse position, we change it around and we make those adjustments. And for cash, I could easily see Charlie Morton or Joe Ryan getting the call up to our second pitcher, maybe over Montgomery, especially if we find bats that make it work. But right now, they are not. I think Ohtani's going to be popular, and I do think he's a GPP option, but I'm just not. Otto's a big strikeout guy, so he's definitely there. I don't trust Plesac. You know what? I'm just the model says not to use Javier, so I'm going to trust the model today. Ryan, Otto, Morton, Pineda. Oh, I don't have Morton. I know I have Pineda twice. I'm just gonna. I'm torn on. I got to see what the lineup's gonna look like for Texas before I get in there. So let's see. Otto. Yep, I don't have any of those guys. I have those guys. I have Ohtani, Pineda. I just don't trust Fetty. All right. Now we're gonna look at our stacks. Our top stack of the day is going to be Atlanta, Houston, left-handed bats plus, Gurriel, Bregman, Yankees, right-handed bats plus, Rizzo, Gallo, San Francisco, Texas, left-handed bats plus, Garcia, Miami for sure. And then we can look at Cleveland leverage. Washington leverage. So I just don't see Washington doing anything. Baltimore leverage, Baltimore right-handed bat leverage. I mean, those are going to be your chalk pitchers, right? Lopez, Montgomery, Otani is probably the guys that we're going to look at. All right, let's color code it all. BVP gets orange, Power gets blue, cash pitchers get green. Not 100% sold on the cash pitchers yet. I was way more sold yesterday. That gets purple. Let's see, my top stacks are going to be these three. Those are my blue stacks. San Francisco. No, we're good. We're actually, I think it's just so cute. San Francisco is going to probably be my only stack there, and then a bunch of yellow. Blue is prime. Green's real strong. Yellow, GPP, long shot only. I don't think I'm missing. Oh, yes, I am. Derp. I knew it. Okay. Toronto. We do like Toronto. Okay. I knew I was missing somebody. And now I feel really good about where we're at. This could change. It likely will change. That's for Bankster DFS members. Ends up in the heat map. Oh, let's put this over. Let's copy it over to the heat map. Might as well while we're here live. We're not running too far behind today. Daily heat map. And then the heat map itself. Data stays with me. It's proprietary. Not important. All right. Pitcher rankings. Main slate. And again, I put main because I'm going to probably do... heat maps definitely for the early slate. I'll work on that as soon as we're done here. And maybe for the turbo slate. It worked out well yesterday doing it for the turbo slate, so I may do that again. We'll see how much time I have. I do have, a job. So we got to do that. Player pool gets updated when I see the lineups. I don't like to update the player pool until there's lineups. And that's all, folks. Okay. That's where we're at. Make sure you're coming to banksterdfs.com. $3.99 a week gets you access to everything that we do. All of our heat maps, articles, player pool, Slack chat, everything. The Slack chat's where it's at. You can go to the website, but everything we put on the website goes in Slack first. Sometimes it doesn't make it to the website. Slack's our home, and that's where you want to be. It's all included for $3.99 a week. Members, videos, all the updates, everything. It's all there. So come check us out. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. Have a great day. BanksterDFS.com.